Hey, welcome back to another Epidose of these crazy guys that are always talking about eating meat and everything related to it. Today, Justin and I are doing another short ribs. We try and release at least one short ribs a week. They're shorter videos where we try to succinctly address a certain topic. And then we also generally have at least one long format where we get into deep discussions about a topic. Sometimes we're interviewing a guest, sometimes we're covering an article. So if this is the type of videos you like, definitely subscribe and hit that alert bell so you know when they come out. But anyways, this is all part of Meat Mosaic, which includes more than just me and Justin. Also, oftentimes you see Joe Zumbo on here, Raymond and
Maison.
Emily, or yeah, Raymond Nazon and Emily, and a number of other people that we like to collaborate with. So, anyways, we thank you for watching. And today, what's our topic there, Justin?
Osteoporosis, osteopenia, aka, and sarcopenia.
Sarcopenia, one of the favorite words of pirates everywhere. So, anyways, you want to kind of give us an idea what that means? Break it down for the people.
Yeah, so I think I'll start with the term that people are probably most familiar with. Unfortunately, it's not a good thing that people are most familiar with this term, but osteoporosis, also known as osteopenia, which is basically the brittling of the bones, losing bone density, bones becoming more fragile and brittle. If those that have ever watched TV in the early 2000s or late 90s, I've fallen and I can't get up. The life alert, that broke a hip, all that kind of stuff. Oh, granny fell. Did she fall and break a hip? Right. That's something we often worried about. I say it in a joking manner, but anyone that's ever had an elderly family member take a fall, that's the thing you worry about, right? And the reason for that is due to the osteoporosis and the brittling of their bone density and the brittling of their bones and just not being able to take force. And so, broken pelvis, trip to the hospital. Sadly, a lot of those people don't get out of the hospital after that. It's pretty downhill, broken legs, ankles, toes, etc. And so, really sad, really bad. And it's kind of seen as like just an old person thing. Oh, you get old, you fall down, go to the hospital, then you go to the morgue. It's just kind of seen as normal and typical, sadly, in today's society. And then the sarcopenia is the wasting away of your muscle tissue, or the brittling, the breaking down of your muscle tissue in your body, essentially. And that can be biceps, triceps, glutes, all that good stuff. But your heart, your heart becoming weak, right? Not being able to pump as strongly or as well. And, that's certainly not good. So that's kind of, and I think, so what do all these tissue cells have in common? Protein, right? They're all protein based, whereas most of our cells are, aside from the fat cells. And so how come osteoporosis, sarcopenia is pretty becoming an epidemic in our nation, right? People are getting larger, more overweight, more obesity, but having more falls, weaker muscles, and weaker bones, right? So we're putting more load on the body, right, through adding weight, but the actual skeletal and muscular system is becoming weaker. And so it's like, what's happening there? And it seems to be two processes occurring at the same time. One is not enough protein or not the right kind of protein. Me and Tom are on the side of that the right protein is animal protein, and that plant protein may be able to take you there, but there may be other deleterious effects as well as poor absorption of that protein. And you may have to eat way more of plant material in order to possibly hit, leucine levels, things of that nature, so that your body starts to build and use the protein. The other side of the occasion, of course, is just a lack of movement. Our society, our jobs becoming ever more sedentary. So we're intaking less protein, while also moving less, which is a terrible combination, which is what puts people in hospice and nursing homes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's that frightening statistic that says that if you fall and break a hip after the age, I think it is of 55, which isn't really that old, you got like a 50-50 chance of being dead in a year, because a lot of people just don't recover from the surgery very well. So a lot of those sorts of hip fractures are associated with people who just aren't um, very agile, so you have both the wasting of the bone and the muscle, that leads to people not being steady on their feet, and then they trip and they fall. And of course, they don't have muscle to protect the bone. They probably don't have as good of connective tissue. The tissue quality is poor. And of course, bone density has gone down. And we think about bone density in terms of things like calcium. We're like, oh, your bones aren't dense, eat some calcium. But really, the calcium levels, the mineral levels in your bones is there because your body sort of stores minerals there. And after a certain point, it's not putting a lot back in. It's mostly taking it out, according to some of the studies. So what you want to do is have plenty of that stuff in your diet, so it's not necessary for your body to remove the minerals from your bones. But overall, the structure of the bones is not mineral in nature, it's protein. So a lot of stuff in your body is sort of on a framework or what they call extracellular matrix, which is a protein based material, right? And so if you're protein deficient, you're probably going to have less and less protein in your bones over time. So they're going to be less dense, and there's going to be less place for minerals to be stored. Same thing is true muscle tissue. Typically, as people get older, they don't absorb the protein as readily for various reasons. So you actually need to up your protein. And like Justin said, we both believe that animal protein is superior to plant protein. Um, the correct amino acids are there in the correct ratios, and there are some essential components in like red meat that do not exist in the plant world. So if you're not eating enough red meat, you're not going to get those, and at the very least, you're going to want to supplement them. But supplements are almost never as good as just eating the right food, right? And of course, when we talk about animal protein comes packaged with animal fat, which we think is superior to plant fat. Again, having the right ratios of different types of fats. And then of course there's all the other materials in there that we need to rebuild our body, like the tissues that make up the joints and stuff like that. It's the same type of material that our own joints are made from. And if you're not eating enough of those materials, your body's just going to have a harder time repairing those joints, because joints and muscles, they wear just like everything else, and they need to be rebuilt. So it only makes sense to put those things in your body. So I think it's prudent for people to make sure they eat plenty of meat and get some exercise, even if it's just walking. I mean, that's a primary function for human beings, is to walk. And just going out and walking is a good way to stay strong and agile. Of course, resistance training, which it could be just doing squats with your own body weight. You could hold on to something to steady yourself. No reason not to. Use resistance bands, like giant rubber bands. Lift weights, do squats. If it was me, I'd say you're never too old to lift weights. You just get old if you stop lifting weights, right? So I think those are the most important things to stay fit, to stay alive, So we were talking the other day, wasn't it you and I, or somebody was mentioning that grip strength is correlated with longevity. So
Oh yeah, the number one test of mortality, or you're going to expire, is your grip strength. And the weaker your grip, the more chances are that you'll have an early demise, whereas the stronger, typically the healthier you are, and the more endurance, longer life that you will have. And there's a crazy epidemic where I suppose it's something like males, I think roughly around the age of 30 are having the grip strength of people in their 60s or 70s, like a decade and a half ago or something. Yeah. And it might be because, yeah, we're gripping things, but we're gripping the wrong things, right? We're gripping these gaming controllers, which I commit
You
sin.
don't lift anything heavier than a cell phone
Right,
or a can of
exactly.
beer or whatever.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Instead of, some real weight, sadly. So again, back to my earlier point, consuming the protein and getting in the movement, right? And many of us, or many people, are deficient in both the protein and the movement.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think human beings throughout our development have always been up moving around, picking stuff up and moving it, whatever, whether we're, hunting, getting fed, getting water, building a dwelling, making clothes, tanning hides, over flaking flint, whatever it is, we're up moving around and doing stuff and using our hands, of course, grip strength could be critical if you're falling. You want to grab onto something. If you can't stop yourself from falling, you're kind of screwed, right? So I think there's a lot more to it than that, but it's a fair point that, if your grip strength's really poor, how are you going to stop yourself from falling,
Yeah, and I've got to say, I try to, I don't know how much I can take credit for this or not, but I want to say at around month 7 or 8 of my mom being carnivore, she actually took a spill in a 99-cent store parking lot. She legit fell. I wasn't there. She was there by herself, which is, most people at age, she was 70 at the time. They take a spill in the 99-cent store parking lot. That's kind of done for the day, right? Like nothing else happening for that day. Maybe, hopefully not have to call an ambulance, but at least call me, call somebody, right, to come help pick her up. And that's another thing of health, is whether or not you can get yourself up off the floor on your own, or get out of a chair on your own without
Right.
assistance. But my mom was able to get up. Yeah, she came home and, she was a little aggravated and, had a bruise or whatever, but she was fine. She didn't have to go to a doctor or anything. It didn't bug her, stuff like that. And so, my mom's always had the movement part down. I just think, she came from, the low fat diet world. My mom's been a salad woman from since I could remember. So again, how much can I credit that to carnivore? I like to kind of put that star on my chest that, hey, maybe me getting her on the more protein animal based diet, who knows, that could have completely switched that day around and ended up not being that bad of a day for her.
Yeah, I kind of, I'm not as your mom's like 20 years older than me. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've never actually met her, but I was visiting my sister. We went to the Amana colonies, which is out in Iowa, and we're walking around, walking down the sidewalk. It's kind of a touristy place. And I stepped off the sidewalk into a little ditch and took a digger. I planted one knee into the sidewalk, my left knee into the sidewalk, and then the rest of me tumbled over and fell in the planted area and then hit the curb. And I mean, I'm 50, I'm a big guy, and you'd kind of expect an injury from hitting the ground like that, at the very least a busted ankle from stepping into a ditch and twisting your foot around, and actually I was fine. I mean, I'm not saying it felt good, but I walked it off. After we walked through the antique shop or whatever it was, I don't know, I was fine, but even the people that were behind us, so people were like really worried because they saw me fall that hard. And I asked my sister about it later. I said, what do you remember seeing? She's like, man, you went down hard, but I was happy because you were rolling. I was hoping that would lessen the injuries, because I rolled all the way over. So the worst symptom I had from that was a lot of itching from the grass I rolled through, a lot of itching. So, but yeah, I'm pretty sure if I wasn't, going to the gym all the time and lifting and stuff like that, that I probably would have gotten injured. But I think my joints are strong, my bones are strong, my muscles are strong because of workout. I keep it going. I love to go to the gym and lift. And fortunately, even with things being what they are, I've been managing to get there 5 and 6 days a week, and then sometimes do a little working out at home. And fortunately, I have more than one gym available. So these things can be done even in this day and age. Didn't you say you knew somebody who was around that time that was maybe a couple years older than me that was out camping and tripped and broke a hip?
Oh yeah, my sister's boyfriend. Yeah, he's about your age, and they were out and they were doing like a whole. I think we're going to Utah, Arizona, Nevada. Doing kind of like a Southwest. You
Oh, so
know.
they were on like an extended vacation, huh?
Yeah. And I
Oh,
think like week 2 or something like that, they were in Utah, and yeah, he fell and broke his hip. Yeah, he did. And he had to go to
yeah.
the hospital, and it was a whole thing, and had to do like some rehab, and yeah, it was
So I'm
yeah.
gonna go out on a limb and guess that he was not a frequenter at the gym.
No, not so
Okay.
much. Again, lifting well, he's Irish. What do they drink in What's the
Whiskey.
whiskey? So yeah, quite the whiskey connoisseur,
Mhm.
you know. But I guess I'll plug their bar. If you go to what's it called? The Dover Bar in San Francisco, California.
Over.
The Dover Bar. There you go. Grab some great whiskey. The
Perhaps a little
owner is my
proper
sister's
12.
wife. There you go. So there you go, sis. Don't say I never plugged the bar. There you go. Helping out.
And I mean, just on average, the his physique and size roughly, what size person is he?
Yeah, so he might be like probably your height, but he's as skinny as me, if not like a little skinnier. Like he's rail skin. He eats regular, he's not anti meat, but he's not pro meat either. Um, and so, he loves his French fries and things
So
like
so what
that.
you're saying is we can't blame it on being vegan.
No,
Uh,
I don't think so.
all right.
Even though they're in San Francisco.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Anyways, yeah, I mean, this is just some real world anecdotes, right? Of what could happen, and why it's important we think to um be protective of, your bones and your muscles, because I'm sure everybody's familiar with people who are have osteoporosis, which is, basically the bone material becomes more porous, right? It becomes more hollow. It's got more voids in it, tiny little voids in it. So one way to do that is just eat plenty of meat and stay active, right?
Definitely. If you needed one more reason for bone health, your bone health is equated to your immune health. So if you want a good immune system, I know that there's, a certain virus in the news daily, 3 times a day, 8 times a day. I think one way to protect yourself is have strong bones, because it does produce your blood cells, your immune cells, your platelets, etc.
Yeah. Exercise definitely helps with
Also,
immunity, right? So, and um we think that since we evolved to eat meat, primarily meat, that probably plays a significant role in healthy immune system as well, right? So in spite of the binary argument over vaccinations and stuff like that, I mean, I think everyone agrees that a healthy immune system trumps all the medical intervention in the world, right?
yeah, we would hope, we would think. I mean, it's been around a lot longer than we have, but
Yeah.
we can't comment as experts in that area, Tom. We want to
No, we
keep our
can't comment
YouTube
as
channel.
experts. We can only state our suspicions, right?
Right.
How many times have you had COVID?
Zero, as far as I know. I've never
Hmm.
really tested though either. I've had a few sinus infections since this has started, though. I know that,
Hmm.
but I don't think none of the COVID symptoms. So I can say no, as far as I know.
Well, okay. Well, that's good. Glad you're healthy. All right. Well, we want to thank everybody for watching. We hope you enjoyed the information and maybe spread it around to people out there who would find it informative, or helpful. So leave us your comments. Let us know what you know about hip fractures and sarcopenia and osteopenia and what your experiences are. Maybe there's some people out there who've had some bone density scans after they changed their diet or something like that. And, maybe that'll help somebody else out there. So until next time, throw a pork chop on top of that like button and make sure you hit that like bell, the alert bell with what do they hit it with? Pickaxe? I don't know.
Sure. Yeah. Pickaxe.
But until next time, hey, eat some meat, feel better, and whatever you do,
Don't
don't
fall
fall
down
down
the
the
carb
carb
hole.
hole.